Hey, what's up, team? Team leaders, worship leaders, P80 here. Listen, I wanted to share a little bit from my heart about the upcoming changes and to provide a little bit of direction, some vision for where I believe God's leading us as a team, and also talk about the sound of the house, as Christina likes to call it. Um, I think if we would kind of backpedal a little bit and define why we worship, uh, why particularly do we provide an opportunity for people to worship during our services at Good News Church. One of the things that Pastor Susie talks about a lot, or brings us back to a lot as a staff and as a church leadership team, is what's the purpose? Why are we doing this? And I think that's a question we need to ask ourselves. Why are we even participating in worship? Whether we're in the congregation side or whether we're leading from the stage. Why are we on the team? Is it to utilize our gifts to benefit the body and equip the saints for the work of the ministry? Is it to help them grow in their relationship with God, or is it about us? That's a question that we each need to ask internally. Why am I doing this? And so I want to give some clear direction, clear vision for why I believe the Good News Church worship team exists. I think, and I believe this after doing worship at Good News Church in some capacity. I started off playing bass in some capacity, and leading worship, being on the worship team for 16 years plus now. I believe, and I've come to recognize that our number one priority is giving people an opportunity to connect with God in worship through singing, meditation on the lyrics on the screen, where they're meditating on the word, because if we're not singing word-based songs, then we've missed it. So that's why I'm really important and focus on the lyrics, and they need to be word-based. And so giving people an opportunity to connect to God in worship through singing, through meditating on the lyrics, the word, and prayer through communicating with God. So all of that is involved in worship. Praise and worship is a type of prayer. It's an act in which we communicate to God. We also utilize worship in building up others. So it's got this horizontal component to it as well as the vertical. And so as we stir one another up to sing songs and to worship others, I'm reminded of a time in my life where I gauged the success of worship and my worship leading on the audience's response. And if everybody was singing and jumping and hollering and engaged, and it seemed like revival was breaking out in the worship center, I thought, man, that was a great worship set or worship service or whatever. And I quickly began to realize that was something I was pushing for every single time. Okay, you're not responding in the way that I want you to respond, so what do? I yell at you. You sing louder. You're not singing loud enough. Well, you're not singing. And I began to realize in conversations with people that people have varying expressions of worship. And I think worship evokes a varied response from people based on what they're dealing with in their lives. And I remember one of my friends was on the production team, the media team, as it was known back in the day. And this guy wasn't a very expressive person. He wasn't very charismatic in his expression of worship. And so I asked him one day, what do you get out of worship? How do you respond? What does worship really mean to you? Because I don't really ever see you singing. And some people are self-conscious about their voice and how it sounds. They don't they don't want to make a joyful noise because it doesn't sound like Tori or Frank or Christina or me, even though they're even better singers than me in the world and in this church, as a matter of fact. So I asked him, why? What do you get out of it? How does it move you? And so his response really changed the way I view how I lead. And he told me that when he's worshiping, he focuses on the lyrics He's meditating, he's thinking about what God's done for him, he's expressing thanks through just telling God thank you. And in his own way, that was his worship. And so I wrote this down. If we are looking at the outward expression to determine the authenticity or effectiveness of our worship or our worship leading, we're missing out and could even hinder what's going on internally. So, say it again, Pastor. I will. I'll say it again. If we are looking at the outward expression to determine the authenticity or effectiveness of our worship leading, we're missing out on and could even hinder what's going on internally. The fact is, we judge others based on their outward expression, don't we? That's all we can see. We judge people based on what we can see, but we have no idea what's going on the inside. We have no idea how God is dealing with a person. And if we are talking about and trying to provoke others to worship, even with the greatest of intentions, knowing how we respond ourselves, then we're really missing it, guys. We have to understand that worship comes in a variety of expressions, and we have to be okay with all of it, with the singing, with the shouting. Now, I've addressed over the years people in the congregation drawing attention to themselves as that's not true worship. But when people are expressive in worship, that's a beautiful thing. When people are reserved and quiet, that can be a beautiful thing, because ultimately our goal is for them to connect with God, not to necessarily connect with the song that we're singing. They may not connect with that song, but or connect with the harmony or melody or whatever. They may not connect with that, but our goal is to connect them to God, because I believe that one word from God, and I've experienced this for myself, one word from God in worship or in a service is far greater than anything we could say or anything we could sing or anything we could shout at them from the platform. One word from heaven is going to change everything for them. And so we have to give an opportunity for that, make room for that to happen. And so everything we say, everything we do should take the service to a higher place. And so that's one tidbit, one little iota of information that I want to share with you. And I'm going to continue to post these videos and share with you each week. So that's one tidbit. Okay, so I have more to share about the sound of the house and what I expect from our worship leaders and our worship team. Now, what's the first Sunday in October going to look like? We're going to show up at 9 o'clock, okay? Expect you to show up at 9, please, 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 if at all possible, and I believe it's possible. I believe you can do it. I believe in you. Be here at 9. Make it a priority, because we're going to spend some time praying. We'll pray 10, 15 minutes or whatever. Not a long amount of time, because we want to give a good bit of time to actually talking about the music and what the set means for us that day, the themes, and why we selected these songs, and really engage with the song and the lyric itself. And then we'll spend time rehearsing and spending time in free worship and flowing and I believe it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be a great thing for our team. It's going to be a great thing for our church as we celebrate and promote unity, even in the midst of our diversity. And I'm super looking forward to it. Okay, so I've gone for far too long right now. Thank you for tuning in all the way to the end. I will see you all Sunday. Have a great day.